Hello and welcome, this is Type V3, and today I'll be taking a look at the Transformers Dark of the Moon Deluxe Bumblebee and Deluxe Barricade. Now, as two characters that have been with us since the beginning of the Transformers movieverse, we have seen many iterations of these toys throughout the years. So do these most recent versions have anything left to offer, or should we just pass them by? One of the first things you'll notice with these Dark of the Moon figures is just how well these vehicle modes have been designed. With less panel breaks and more precise paint apps, these two figures might be passed off as Hot Wheels toys as opposed to transforming robots. Bumblebee has received many, although minor changes for the Dark of the Moon toy line. The first change of which is a revised paint scheme on the hood and roof. He's also had the addition of a big large spoiler and a new front splitter, and he's also had his door windows replaced with NASCAR-esque netting as opposed to glass windows. Barricade hasn't had any real changes in terms of design, but instead has had a lot more refinement. Barricade's panel breaks are now a lot harder to spot thanks to cleaner engineering and a black paint job. And because his paint apps have been applied with such crisp precision, they just seem to pop from any way you seem to stare at them. Unfortunately, when in hand and when compared up against previous deluxe molds, it's easy to see that these Dark of the Moon figures have been downsized in scale, more so in width rather than length. Now, the reason for the size decrease is very simple, and it all comes down to do with the Dark of the Moon toy line's main gimmick, Mech Tech. Now, Mech Tech is basically the inclusion of a giant oversized weapon that can transform on its own with a little hinge or lever. Basically though, with so much plastic involved in this weapon, that means less plastic has gone into the actual toy itself or figure, thus decreasing the size. Now, because this weapon is also so large, there is no convenient way to store it, so what you get is basically a giant gun on top of the vehicle. And that looks pretty damn stupid if you ask me. Now, the great thing about MechTech though is if you don't like it, you can always take it off and put it in storage. Of course that leaves your figure a bit weaponless, but I mean the option is there. As cars, these figures look pretty great as is, and if you're the type of person who really values vehicle design over anything else, then you'll probably want to pick these up. These two also look really great together and definitely portray the whole cops and robbers scenario. Of course, these aren't cars, these are Transformers, so let's transform. When it comes to Bumblebee's transformation, it is very similar to that of any of the past Bumblebee figures. The only differences lie in the revised chest and more effective and accurate thigh plates. One interesting little feature is that because he's had his windows removed in car mode, they've actually put a transformation sequence to put them back in for his robot mode. Barricade's transformation, on the other hand, is a lot more tight and precise. Because he's such a compact robot in his vehicle mode, you may find his transformation a bit tricky. He also has a lot of really tough clickety joints, and I felt like I might break the toy at times because of just how much pressure I had to apply just to get things to snap together. In either case, both transformations leave you with two very movie-verse looking Transformers. Bumblebee's overall design carries the same lines and details that we've been used to for the past 4 years. The much more screen-accurate thigh guards look great, and the revised chest make the upper body look a lot more muscular. And his face has been given an odd silver-looking paint job, which doesn't match anything else on this figure. However, when compared side by side with Battleblade's Bumblebee from last year, you can really see what flaws this Dark of the Moon character has. The new figure stands about an inch shorter, and his head is missing the ever so popular battle mask that we're used to Bumblebee seeing all the time. His arms are missing the built-in weapons that include the blaster and battle axe, and there is just a bunch of silver paint that is missing on the new figure that the old Bumblebee seemed to have. It just feels like a slight step backwards in terms of design. Bumblebee also has some pretty decent articulation as well. His shoulders are each on a ball joint, there is a single hinge on the elbow along with an elbow swivel, and the wrists themselves can come in a little bit like that. His head is on a ball joint, although it is limited in the up and down position. There is a waist swivel, hips are on a ball joint, there's also a thigh cut, a knee joint, and his feet have some play in them as well. In terms of weaponry, you can see he has a 3mm clip point, so you can always add extra weapons if you feel it's necessary, and he has a Mech Tech port right on the very end of his forearm. Don't be mistaken by this hole is too big to fit a gun, so if you were to try, it just kind of falls out. This is the only place you can use it, and for me, it's kind of a shame. I wish this was the MechTech port, not this one, because it just feels like it's a gun extending too far out, and it's even worsened when you activate his MechTech weapon. It just looks a bit too large. I would have preferred if it was stuck here, so it looks like it was a bit more integrated with his arm. But I guess that's the best we've got. As for Barricade, this toy is completely ugly. The lack of a lower torso and elongated arms make him look like a robotic monkey. Thankfully, with a couple of adjustments, you can fix his look. Just like that. His head is beautifully sculpted, unfortunately it lacks any sort of light piping. And all the details and paint on this guy look great, especially his chest with the inclusion of those plastic headlights. His arms are particularly fantastic as they contain those same paint apps from the vehicle. When it comes to posability, Barricade definitely has some interesting joints. His head is on a ball joint, but because of the way it's positioned and cut, his swivel from side to side is kind of on an angle. Each arm is on a swivel that goes just up and down, and then it's connected to a ball joint. He does not have a bicep cut, but he does have a forearm ball joint that lets him kind of do some interesting movements. The wrist can go in and out. There is a very, very loose waist joint here because of his transformation. A ball joint right here on the hip, but there's also a swivel joint here at the crotch piece that lets it go in and out. There is no thigh cut, but there is a double jointed knee, which is very limited thanks to this little knob here. His ankle can just go forward like that, and that's basically it for his posability. In terms of mech tech ports, he actually does not contain a single mech tech port for his robot mode. Instead, what you have to do with his weapon is kind of just make a mech tech port out of his fist, and then just stick it in. It's interesting. I'm not that mad that there's no holes all jammed in him, but the fact that he can't really hold anything that all too well kind of disappoints me, especially because he has a pretty cool weapon. It comes out like a little claw thing, so that's pretty cool, but again, no mech tech port, and because this weapon is so heavy, even the tight joints won't be able to hold it up for very long. In the end, these are two very good deluxe class figures, and while they don't have any surprising or mind-blowing features, they do have the best looking vehicle modes I've ever seen for this class of toy. Of course, if you already have a Bumblebee or a Barricade, I don't see any reason why you should pick up these guys. However, if you don't have a movieverse version of these guys, then this is definitely not a bad place to start. In Bumblebee's case, the Battle Blades version is still superior, but for Barricade, this Deluxe is by far the best we've ever gotten. Also, if oversized transforming mech tech weapons are your thing, then you won't be disappointed here. Anyways, there you have it, the review for Transformers Darker the Moon, Deluxe Barricade, and Deluxe Bumblebee. Hopefully I persuaded some of you guys to buy these, and hopefully I helped affirm some of your decisions to just stay away from these figures altogether. In either case, I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching. I will catch you guys next time.